Welcome to today's video. I'm going to open with the Song of the Silk Road, and then we'll have a look at some of the wider aspects of it. So without further ado, let's get started. So, there's a few different aspects to look at this. One of the things to immediately see is that it's in 4/4 time, and what I think is important to see here is that all music within the tonal period, in fact all music at all, from the tonal period until the post-tonal period, has foreground and background. It's the same thing as with art, where things are in the foreground, but the background is equally important. So we've got the Song of the Silk Road. So I'm imagining the camels, the wagon trains, the merchandise going down the Silk Road, which the foreground is what you're seeing. It's it's the silks, but the road itself, that's among sand dunes, which are much bigger than the produce itself. Therefore, keep counting the background. Don't hurry to get to the interesting foreground. Where we have interesting things within music, as students we can tend to hurry to try to get to them. Don't do that. Shape is important in music. It's the same thing as in art, that if you're going to draw shape, the dimensions have to be right. So let's look at the timing first of all. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and So making sure that it's fours and that you're not cutting off any crotchets here and there. I've heard it played 1, 2 and 3, 1. And you can hear the shape is cut short. To draw shape, the dimensions must be predictable. Shape is about predictable lengths. It's the same thing in music. If you want to give your music shape, make sure it has predictable lengths. Make sure that you don't cut out any notes in order to try and get to the interesting stuff, whether it's in this piece or whether it's in anything else that you're doing. Something else that I'm doing is I'm using my knowledge of echo. Looking particularly at the end of the piece. If you have a copy of the piece, follow along with this. If you don't, then contact me and I can tell you where to get copies of it. At the end of the piece, there is a Is it exclusive? Yeah, it's a dotted minim to quaver motif. So 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and it just passes between the tenor part and the bass part in the music. So let's have a look through and see if there's anything else within the music where there are echoes, and where there are echoes, if material is repeated, I often play it quieter. If you're throwing a stone into a cave, the initial impact is strong, but then the echo that comes back to you is always quieter. So I would suggest that if you're playing repeated material within a piece of music, play the second piece of material quieter than the first. Crescendo through that part because it's new. So if you heard there, I've got this repeated D up the top. Strong, softer. So just listen to that D section again and listen to how I play the first of the Ds strong and the second quieter. And it's a really interesting way of giving pieces texture. I don't know, it's one of these things with any piece. I could sit down for ages, play it through millions of different times, different ways. Different strokes as well was actually something I was going to mention. I'll mention that in a second and then I'll close off the video from there. But essentially I've looked at, don't hurry on to the next interesting piece of foreground material at the expense of the background material. If you do that, the dimensions will be different and the shape of the piece will be wrong. If you do see echoed material, I would suggest that you play the echo quieter than the initial impact. And actually one final thing is, if you've got echoed material, you could maybe change the stroke on your right hand as a guitarist, or articulation in general across something you can't see on camera here. So I've got a piano here and I've got a drum kit over here and that sort of idea. Of all the instruments that I play, I would change articulation on the second impact. It's just a way of giving meaning to the music. And if you watch my right hand there as you replay the video, you'll see that sometimes I was playing apoyando and sometimes I was playing tirando, and listen for the different effects. As I bring you back to, so I'm just closing down the music on my own screen here. I'm shooting this during lockdown, but actually what I'm really interested in is the fact that music is something which we can all do in the isolation of our own practice studios, whether that's composing or whether that's performing. But connect with people with this. either do video calls and share your performance, share your compositions, share your music with people you feel safe with, or I'm trying to involve a community of musicians, starting with my students, but the more I interact with people in making music at home with things that are freely available at home, and then connecting out with a wider world, so we don't feel so isolated, which is one of the things that we can do as musicians. Very easy to make music at home, but actually bringing it out into society is the hard thing. So give us a comment. Comment on what it is that I'm doing, comment on what it is you're doing, share the experience. I'm sure I can figure out some way of posting videos backwards and forwards, but if you subscribe to this channel, then obviously that will help me to show what it is that I'm doing. But if you click the notification button as well, that will help you so that you'll see what's happening when I post it. I will see you in the next video.